Hi, welcome to the Hot Blog Tips Hangout live with Ben Barden of quickblogtips.com, Mitch Mitchell with I'mJustSharing.com, my partner Sheryl Loch and myself, and today we're going to be discussing the pros and cons of using free WordPress themes. Over to you, Mitch.
Okay, well, this particular topic came up because of something that happened to myself and a client of mine this week. I created a blog for her back in February, and for, probably the first time in a few years, I decided to go and look for a theme special for her blog because her color of her website is gold, and I decided to try to see if I could find a theme that was gold. And I found one. It was pretty neat and whatever, so I used that as the theme, and, it was free, 3 columns. It was going well, and then all of a sudden last week she got a letter from Getty Images asking for $800 because of an image that supposedly was on the blog. And we went looking for the image. There weren't any images on the blog. I write the post for her as well. And then it turned out that it was an image in the header. And whoever had created the theme had used, a portion of an image. And, there's no way I would have known. And it was the first time that ever brought up an idea that quite possibly some of the free themes that are out there, and there's, tens of thousands of them, may be using something that's got some copyrighted material. Now, when I spoke to the guy at Getty Images, he asked me, well, do you know if the people who created it got licensing for the image? To which I said, I don't know. I mean, how would you know? I don't even know what site I downloaded it from because that particular theme is on multiple websites. And so this guy tried to tell us, well, you're still going to owe us $800. I said, I don't think so, especially since I showed him that I didn't add an image on there, and that, the people I downloaded it from didn't add the image. Whoever created it, and I knew who created it, added it. But it's something else that adds another layer to this whole thing because it now does tell us that maybe when we download free themes, just because they look cool, doesn't necessarily mean that we might not encounter some issues on the back end. So that was something new for me. Usually I have a template that I use, and I will create something that looks, more like a person's website. But I know that there's probably, my goodness, thousands of people who don't even think about it. They find a theme and they download it and use it. So that's kind of what we're going to discuss today because, like I said, I've been doing this for almost 8 years. It was the first time it ever came up, and I never even thought about it before.
Well, I do know that Getty Images has been going after a lot of people. I've been seeing other people having the same issue, whether they've used a picture just on their site with a post, or they've gotten them in free themes. But so you're not the only one that Getty's been getting a hold of.
No, I have to wonder if it may not just be free themes. It could be, what's to keep somebody from setting up a theme and charging for it? So the same issue could easily, show up with, pro themes or, paid for themes. It's not necessarily just going to be free WordPress themes.
Yeah, and I guess one of the questions that I would also have is that even if it's a paid-for theme, and the people who created it paid for it, if they then sell it to other people, is everyone supposed to buy a license for that image? Or is it just, the first people who bought it? Because if everyone is supposed to buy it, then there's a disclaimer that probably needs to be out there,
And you have to figure a lot of those pro themes are copied and used by free themes. So even if someone had a pro theme and somebody else scraped it and used it, you could be in another heap of trouble.
It could be, well, I'm not familiar with Getty Images, so I don't want to say, talk about their prices. But I have used similar sites, and it's usually quite a bit more to be able to use an image for content that's being shared, such as, offering themes. So that, and again, I'm not familiar with Getty Images, but that could be a lot of money. So I find it almost unlikely that most themes would even bother paying for it. We would hope that somebody with the ability to create a WordPress theme and charge money for it would either hire a graphic designer or have the ability to do it themselves without taking or grabbing images off the net. But I guess that just goes back to, who do you trust? It's better to go with somebody with a decent reputation than somebody that you are either that or are familiar with.
Well, I know Getty Images is kind of a broker on Flickr for some people, where you may find an image that you can use for free, but you're supposed to ask for licensing permission from Getty Images. You'll see like this little dark G underneath the area where you can get permission to use it. But I was thinking about this site that I just found a site that had the exact thing so I could show them, and it showed 590 downloads. And I started thinking, well, if these people think they're going to get $800 from 590 people, I don't think the image that the guy took after World War II, where the soldier was kissing that woman in the street, made that kind of money. I'm thinking everyone's probably used that one. I'm not sure if you've seen that one, Ben.
I've not, no. I mean, with the Getty Images thing, I notice, again, on Flickr that you generally have the license listed out. So if I'm looking for images, then, for instance, a commercial blog, you would generally go for attribution only, so you can use it for commercial use. And then there's also, it's got some of the rights reserved, but not all of them, so you can just use it, say, on a blog where you're not making money. But I think the bit where there's a little bit of a grey area is where it doesn't say all rights reserved, and it's got the symbol saying that you can use it as long as you attribute the source, not for commercial use, but then it's got the Getty Images link underneath, and that seems to contradict the license on Flickr, the Creative Commons license. So I'd say in that case it's not very clear whether you can take it at all, and surely if it's only something that you can do through Getty Images, the other icons shouldn't be there at all.
Now, does that mean that if it's designated for attribution and commercial use, that all it takes is a link at the footer of the blog to correct the issue, correct the problem?
Well, in theory, yes, but with the Getty Images logo there as well, I think that makes it a bit more confusing. And to be honest, I think we'd need to research that a bit. I've not dug into it too much. But let's just say whenever I see Getty Images with all the Creative Commons icons, I get a little bit nervous as to what's the best practice there and whether you can use it.
I've never used the Getty image picture that I've seen that on, but I will say this, that there are, last week was actually a very interesting one in the fact that at the beginning of the week I got contacted by this other company because I had used an image that said you could use the image on Flickr. It gave the rights, and the guy's complaint was that I didn't link back to his website. Well, I linked back to Flickr because when you read, the terms of service, you link back to the person's Flickr page. And so I said, well, I read everything, and I linked back to your page. The image goes right back to your page, and, I gave you attribution. And he says, well, it's supposed to link back to my page. I said, well, it doesn't say that. And he says, well, yeah, Flickr doesn't really give you a lot of options where you can put that in there, but that's what we want. I decided just to take the image down totally. For that particular post, I figured, well, okay, you know what, I'll go without this one for now. It's on my finance blog, and I don't always have pictures on that one. But I thought that was somewhat irritating because if they'd gone back to this person's, Flickr page, they would have seen the link to his website if they really, cared to go anyway. But, I don't really know. Suddenly it's a weird thing that's going on with, these images. And you're thinking that you have the rights to these images, because they're giving you the right, and yet, when something happens, who knows?
Yeah, this has happened in the past with other, do you recall when, I think he was out of Florida, some lawyer went in, it was over some type of script or something that you could put on your blog, and it had an embedded, a secret, I'm going to say secret, but a hidden line on there that was embedded in the HTML in the source code of the program, and an attorney started going after a whole bunch of people. I wish I could remember the name of that program, but this was 4 or 5 years ago, and it was easy to find because they had embedded this in the source code, so all they had to do was a search, and if you had added this to your blog, then it would come up in the search. And now they have, and it almost seemed like it was set up just as a way to get money. And he was settling with a lot of bloggers and a lot of internet marketers, and I think it was mainly internet marketers. But he was settling, without taking people to court, but he was cashing in big time. So,
Well, the thing is, they want to settle with you because they understand that most of these little bloggers don't have the finances to get a lawyer, and they're terrified of going to court for copyrights, for all of this stuff. So what they do is they go in and they threaten you. We had, I believe it was Right Haven, that went through and hit a bunch of bloggers, and that's their whole thing is if they can get a blogger that doesn't want to pay for an attorney and says, okay, I can pay the $800, that's cheaper than even looking for an attorney, missing work and all this, then they'll say, okay, let's settle and we won't have to go to court. They get their money, and it may not even be legal, and if you say, let's go to court, they probably aren't going to win anyway. If they haven't sent you a DM, a takedown notice, I think it'd get thrown out, at least here.
And that's why I always thought you were supposed to get a takedown notice first.
I think if you take out the legal side of it for a moment and say that back on the point of there was some hidden code in certain themes, I've seen that when I was looking around for a theme for my blog before I went with what I'm using now. And what I found was that there's a lot of free themes where the author will basically get their link inserted, which I think is fair enough to a point, so they've got a link to their homepage. But the thing is some of these theme authors will also include links to sites that, like marketing services and financial services and things like that, things that look like paid links, and you could actually get a penalty from Google if they appear on your site. So I think, and the problem is that because they're actually stuffed into the theme code, there's no way to remove them. If you try, it will actually break the theme. So there's a definite downside of free themes for that reason.
But actually, you can. And the reason I know that is because, well, I'm just sharing that theme is actually a free theme that I've modified over the years. And for the first year and a half, the most common search term for that blog was credit cards. And I hadn't written anything on credit cards. And finally one day I did a search and I found out that there was all this stuff embedded in the footer. And I couldn't find it, just by pulling up the PHP. So I did what I usually do, which is I went on Google and I researched it. And I found something that allowed me to get into the footer, and it revealed all this stuff. And I cleared all that junk out of there. And then eventually I just got rid of the footer. I don't even have a footer on there anymore. Because it's like you said, Ben, it's nothing wrong with someone linking back to their website because they've, created the theme, no problem with that. But there was all this other stuff that was in there that could have, penalized me that I had no clue was in there. So, you're right, there is that other danger of a free theme that I know I've seen on some other people's blogs.
I think you were quite lucky that you could actually take the stuff out, because obviously it does take a bit of time. Not everyone's going to know how to do it, but there's definitely some themes that I've come across that are very cleverly coded, and if you do try and take the links out, the theme quite honestly will not work anymore. So I guess you had a theme that didn't have that problem, but there are definitely themes that don't allow you to take the links out, and really I would just say any links where that's an issue, just try another theme.
Right.
Yeah, I had the same issue on one of my money tips blogs, and at the bottom of it, it said something about it may have been credit cards or something, Mitch, I'm not sure. But then I paid to upgrade it to Pro. It was only like $8 or $9 or something, and I was supposed to be able to remove that link. and they sent me a whole new theme that I was supposed to install. And I thought, well, I don't need to do that. I'll just pull that link off the footer, which linked to theirs with those credit card or whatever it was, game something for their anchor text. And when I went in there to go find it, I couldn't even tell. As a programmer, you could probably read this, Ben, but I couldn't understand anything. It was all garbled, coded, or it was just like all mixed up. It was nothing made sense. And as soon as I took that string off, all I got was it just took the whole site down. It just destroyed the whole thing. It just broke it apart.
Yeah, I mean that's an example where, I mean, if you do see a string of characters that isn't the actual text of the link and you can't figure out what it is, generally what they've done is they've done something called encryption, which simply means that instead of being able to read the text of the link and the URL of the link, it just gives you a whole load of random characters. Now, the theme can actually translate that and turn it into what you see on the site, but ultimately, if you go in and take out a bit of that code, then as you will find, sometimes it will just break it completely.
And another issue with using free themes is the SEO aspect of it. Now, it's been a while since I've read up on it, but I believe Google reads top to bottom, left to right. So if you have certain things, like you can have your right column showing, or your column showing on the right, but it can still be read, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Ben, but it can still be shown using Cascade style sheets before the rest of the content or after the rest of the content. Primarily you want your content to come up first. So just because somebody can put together a theme doesn't necessarily mean that they are doing the best with their SEO aspect of it. So that's another issue.
I'd extend that. I'd extend that a little bit and say that it's not just the SEO, it's that you will find that with some free themes that actually the quality of the coding is generally pretty bad. Now, to be fair, that can be true of any theme. It's not just free themes that do it, but I think because there are so many more of them and because someone can create quite a basic theme that looks great, but the code itself is really not very good, and I think it's very difficult for anyone, well, for a lot of bloggers to know that, because if they don't know how to code, and most won't know how to code, you're not going to know what to look for. You'll just install it, say, my site looks great, and then as you say, you may find that you get SEO problems, you may find it breaks some of your plugins, you might find in some extreme cases that it simply breaks the site even if you don't change anything. So I would say that unless it's someone who's a respected, well-known designer or developer, you might want to give it a test first, say like on just a dummy blog that you've set up just for testing.
Well, I know that because I don't do the theme end of it. Brad handles all of that. And he has shown me on the WPMU site, there's a guy who has an article and it's really good. He goes through some free theme sites. He's got 2 tools listed on there and shows you what to look for in the code so that you can find these crap links and how to take them out and all of this. And I'll put the link in the description whenever I upload the YouTube to his article. And Brad uses Theme Authenticity Checker, and that's a WordPress plugin. And Exploit Scanner is another WordPress plugin. And both of those, you download your theme to your computer rather than into your, you don't want to put it up on your service because if it's got crap on it, you don't want to infect all your sites.
I do it.
And so these are 2 tools, and I'll link to them. And the main article where the guy shows you how to use them, and I mean, I haven't messed with themes in forever, and I understood what he was talking about. So it's something that anybody could probably use and at least get a good idea if they should just pass on that theme and go look for another one.
Now, I'd like to touch on this thing about SEO and the themes, because I see that often. I see a lot of people writing that kind of thing, and truthfully, I don't know that I believe that it's totally true. I see, I think it really comes down to the content and what you're writing. I will say, however, that, like I said, that first year and a half before I knew there was anything embedded in my footer, I might have been fighting against certain things for SEO. But I think once you get rid of that kind of stuff and whatever, that a free theme will be just as effective as a paid theme. I just see all these things where these paid themes talk about your SEO will be better if you use this, and I just haven't seen the proof in that.
Well, I guess we'd have to rely on Ben on that since he's a programmer, because I do know there's certain things that will block, stop, or slow down Googlebot and such, so even that is an aspect, Am I right, Ben, with like certain JavaScript or in certain scripting, won't that like cause the Googlebot to stop reading any further down the page? Is that right?
Well, generally, I'd say I'm not an SEO expert, but what I will say is that if you miss out some of the standard HTML tags, things like if your header tag opens but it doesn't close, it's extreme cases where the code is really not done properly. Cases like that, you may find that you just disappear from search engines. Now that, to be honest, is a relatively simple fix, and I think very few themes would be out there that would do that, but hey, I might be wrong, and there may actually be some themes out there that do that. But I'd say, by and large, you're going to find out fairly quickly if a theme's caused problems for your site, because generally you'll disappear fairly quickly, I would say. And equally, you may come back quite quickly as well if you solve the problem. But I'd say beyond that, I think SEO generally is something that probably is a bit different to how it was before with all the recent Google updates. So, as I say, I'm not an expert, but I'd say probably there's less to worry about there unless there's serious problems with your code.
And using a plugin like All-in-One SEO is a good thing because it's got some customization. I know there's a lot of people just download it and go with it as it's set up. But, if you go in and you customize certain things, I'm sure that it helps to override certain issues. Like you said, with tags, if if your theme isn't closing tags or certain things, you're going to have those issues. But having certain plugins will really help a lot.
Google, sorry, Sheryl. Sheryl found a problem with the theme that I'm using. I'm using a paid theme. When she was looking into Bing's Webmaster Tools, and it was showing too many H1 tags. Now, you're only supposed to use one H1 tag per page. I'm showing five posts on an index page, and so it was showing 5 H1 tags on basically one page. And that was the way their theme was set up. So it was a pretty easy fix, to go in there and change those. Just to simplify things, I just changed everything to H2. So there are no more H1 tags unless I insert them on my blog, which is probably bad in another aspect of it. But that's just one small thing, even on a paid theme, that can make a difference. And not on getting indexed, but where you're sitting it in the SERPs.
But you figure how many people would never look at their themes to even know that they had extra H1 tags? Most people would just assume it's going to be right. I pull open the view page source and start scanning through it for one thing and find the H1 tags and send you over to Bing to see what it says. But most people don't do that. You figure most people that use free themes are just using them because that's what's free, and they're not going to invest the time, the effort, or may not even know how.
And a lot of the people that may be making these free themes, if they're not current on SEO and the Google updates and everything else, then they're not going to know what to do themselves. So it's a little scary when you think about it. Somebody like myself that's not an expert on SEO or themes, but as a blogger, and then get an ebook, learn how to make a theme, put one up, put it out, it looks pretty, you know, and then other people start downloading it, and nobody's getting indexed, or nobody's, you know, doing what they can on the SERP. So it's, I believe it's probably better to pay, you know, but even then you still need to be careful, and that's as far as an SEO aspect of it.
I mean, I think quite a major potential problem with free themes compared to paid themes that I can think of is the support, because typically you can get some support for free themes. You may find some paid themes have better support than others, but generally what I found is that if someone makes a theme for you for free, and I think the same goes for plugins, that's one thing, but I don't think they're going to support you very much for free. I mean, in some cases you can actually get paid support for a free theme, but generally, say things like the Genesis framework, that's a paid framework with child themes, and when you pay you get access to support forums, and they're very good, and there's a lot of information you can get there, but I've never seen that level of support for any free themes.
That's a good point, Ben, and also anybody that's downloaded and installed a free theme or anything, and then WordPress does its latest update, and it breaks your theme, then you go to the guy's page, and he hasn't been there in 16 months, you know, and he's not active anymore. He's not updating. He's not. You're never going to get an update for that theme. Now the only choice you have is to change themes all of a sudden and quickly, because now your blog isn't even working at all. So that's just a you know, for free themes, as far as, I mean, I guess it could happen on a paid theme too, but more likely it's just going to be the free themes. Some guy goes out and throws out 10 of them, and now he gave up on it. He didn't make any money. He just moved on to other things. So
I think it depends, though. I mean, we might as well say this, on what your goals are. For instance, when I created I'm Just Sharing, really the goal was to just have a place to write. You know, I thought I would put some affiliate ads in there and maybe someone would buy, but in general it was just to write. And so therefore free was, you know, really the way I was going to go with it. I think if you're doing, you know, if you're going to get a paid theme, your intentions need to be that you're looking to try to make money or do something else with it, or, you know, representing your business in a certain way. You know, when I'm doing it to represent someone's business, for instance, this other theme that I normally use that I can customize works, you know, very well. And, you know, I can go in and I can do almost anything with it. Actually, it's the theme that I have, I got it so long ago that I actually learned how to go in and do a whole lot of things to it so that I could change the header and change some of these other things. And, you know, I mean, that's just how I am. But I think that the majority of people are just looking to get out there and maybe, you know, start writing something and whatever. And in that case, you know, kind of like in small business, one of the things that a lot of people do is, you know, you start a business and you buy all this equipment, all these things that you think you're going to need, because when you were working for someone else, you needed all that stuff. And the next thing you know is 5 years later, you have almost all of that stuff that you've never opened because you never needed it. So, you know, I guess part of me says, you know, go ahead and start with the free theme, unless your goal is to, you know, make money with your blog or whatever, and, you know, see if it works out for you. Later on down the line, if you decide to pay for it, you know, I mean, I guess I will look at your theme, then I will compare yours to what our friend Sire uses for his theme. And, you know, he's changing that thing around all the time, all these other kinds of things, but he's not looking to actually push a business. Yeah, he wants to make a little money on the side, but he's not looking to push a business. And so when you sometimes look at his theme and you compare it to, you know, some others, you might say, well, it's not a true business theme in the sense of what some other people might say, no matter how much money he paid for it. So I think that, you know, there's those things that you kind of have to decide to look at the same time.
Yeah, but what's a true business theme?
Interesting question.
Because I probably don't look. You figure you go to a lot of the mom blogs, and some of those make some big freaking money off their ads and off the blog her ads and things like that. They got pink polka dots, they got bows, they got balloons. You know, you guys might go there and laugh about it, but I'll guarantee some of those pink balloon websites are making more money than all of us blogs put together. You know,
that's
so
feelings.
yeah, so you kind of have to, is it a true business theme? That depends on what your business is.
Well, okay, I'll use it like this. The theme that I have for my main corporation, T.T. Mitchell Consulting, the theme I have is such that the blog looks like the website. It's the exact same color. It's got the exact same logo on it, whatever. To me, that's a business blog, so I don't want it looking kind of frivolous or anything else. I want it to look like it's integrated with the website, which it is, because it's in a subdirectory on the website, as opposed to I'm Just Sharing, which is a standalone blog, and, you know, yes, I'm highlighting different things here and there, but I don't consider that really as a business blog. It doesn't have to look like my business. It doesn't have to have my business logo or anything else like that. I guess that was how, you know, my initial impression of it. But you're right. I have seen some of those mom blogs that definitely, well, I don't even know what to say about the rest of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you might want to laugh, but when they get a hold of you and they start waylaying on you, you'll say, you know what, honey, that pink is pretty and it's fine.
Whew. Whew. And all the little flowery things, the glitter and balloons and stuff. Oh, my goodness.
Is my screen sharing not working?
Oh, you brought up Seth, huh?
Oh, you can see it.
Click
Okay.
on your,
Yeah, we can
there
see
you
that.
go.
I just brought Seth up here just to, I mean, we can look at that, and that's pretty basic. But wow, this guy, I mean, he's been around a long time, and I'm sure his blogging is making a difference. But he's got a 7 Google page rank, and Alexa down just over 6,000. So I wonder if we're not putting too much emphasis on themes to begin with.
No, you know what? I mean, you can't. Here's the thing: you can't compare yourself to a Seth Godin. The guy, one, he doesn't take any comments on his blog. 2, he was known before he ever put up a blog. 3, we don't know that actually he's writing it. And 4, when he's done certain presentations, he will get out there and even talk about how stupid most of the social media is. So I'm not necessarily sure that I'm buying something just because Seth Godin did it. I would probably, if you're going to use someone, I would probably go to Chris Brogan as a guy who, and I don't know what his, actually I could go look it up, but I'm not in the mood right now. But, you know, I would look at someone like Seth Brogan, who has made his bones in social media. And, you know, you take a look at his site and do a comparison, you know, or his site or his blog and whatever. You know, and you know, there is that thing about, can you have too much on your site, you know, too many ads or too many of this or that or whatever. I mean, you know, I mean, obviously I'm not sure if that's a free theme versus paid theme conversation or not, but it's definitely one of those kind of things where you have to look at it overall to see, you know, are you confusing your audience or are you overwhelming your audience? I look at I'm Just Sharing, and I think that for the most part, the only things I have on that site that are I'm looking for someone to actually pay for are my products, you know, my book, my ebook, you know, my CD series. You know, I created that stuff. So if it's out there, hey, you know what? It's out there because I created it, you know.
Well,
I mean, I think the thing with free themes is that I don't think that there's really going to be any it's kind of, you have to commit with a paid theme. I mean, sometimes they do like a free trial and then a paid version, but I find there's a lot of free themes where obviously you can just install them, you don't have to pay anything. If it doesn't work out for you, you uninstall, you try another one. And whereas with a paid theme, if you have to pay for it to try it out, then there's quite a big boundary for a lot of people to actually give it a shot.
That's true. That's just once you invest in it, you want it to work. So I guess we need to do our research before we invest. And I agree with Mitch. You know, it depends on what you're going to use it for. I mean, blogging is, you know, anybody can blog, and we all have our different reasons. What are we seeing here?
This is Chris Brogan's blog, and just showing you, you know, a couple of things here. I mean, it's nothing special, but it's on his website. You can see over there, and you know, it looks just like his website. And he's using a paid theme. He's using the Genesis theme.
Sure. Yeah. Another very popular blogger that we can all strive for.
So, I just wanted to show that quickly.
But you know, we want something that loads quickly. We want something that is coded properly for SEO. We want something that's not going to get us in trouble with internet and .com lawyers all over the place with using other people's content and images. So I guess it all boils down to our research, you know, and something like the Genesis or the Thesis or one of those. They're very expensive, you know, compared to a free thing. But I mean, if you're going to be earning money on your blog, that's maybe something to look at. Or if you're going to just be here long term, just like getting your own domain and, you know, and running your own blog as opposed to WordPress or Tumblr or Blogger, any of those. Doesn't make you any more of a blogger.
Sorry, Brian. I think there's a point that keeps coming up in the last few minutes about whether you're trying to make money from your blog, whether it's a business, and whether you should use a free or a paid theme. I mean, to be honest, I think there's a few different trains of thought. There's the people, let's say you want to make money. There are the people who will want to make money but won't want to put any money in at all because that's money spent, so they'd automatically go with a free theme. Then there's also the people who believe that you have to spend a bit of money to make some money, in which case they might go with a paid theme. But I mean, there are good and bad paid and free themes, and I think that if you're making money, it shouldn't necessarily mean that you do or don't go with a free or a paid theme. It's just whichever theme you can find that suits your site.
Well, and there are some good free themes that don't have malicious code, that don't have, you know, a lot of problems that most people can use, because a lot of them you can still go in, take out images, put in your own images, and I mean, after all, they're free. And if you want to get started with those and find some good ones, I'd just say check them out before you use them, because you don't want to be harming yourself before you get going. But there's a lot of good free ones out there. You just have to look for them and then customize them.
Okay, this is going on pretty good. Why don't we give everybody one last word here, and we'll go ahead and close out. Ben, any final thoughts on pros and cons of using free WordPress themes?
I mean, I think there are pros and cons certainly that we've talked about, and it's fairly balanced. I mean, if it's really about finding a theme that works for your blog, regardless of whether it's free or paid, and also working on the recommendations of others. So if it's a theme that works for your blog, doesn't matter if you pay for it or not.
Okay, good. Over to you, Mitch.
I would agree with Ben. Whether it's paid for or whether it's a free theme, find something that you like first. You know, I really think it's actually more important for you to go for design. Do you want 2 columns, or do you want to go 3, 4, or 5? And, you know, you can get that either free or paid, and then customize it, you know, at least in some way. You're going to customize a paid theme, so you might as well customize a free theme in some fashion as well.
Okay, good. Sheryl?
My theory is if you get a 5-column theme, I'm never reading your freaking blog. I'm like, whoa, dude, back off. 5 freaking columns? Hell, I can barely take 3. I get so confused. Stick with 2 or 3 columns. That's it, okay?
I think we all can agree with that.
Yeah, we can.
And on that note, I'll close it out with one fantastic blogging tip. If you're new to blogging and you're going to look for a theme and you're the only author, you're the only blogger, take my advice from experience. Stay away from those magazine themes. They look nice, but trying to keep up with it, you won't get any sleep. You're never going to be able to eat. Forget using the bathroom. Those things, if you're not posting 5 or 6 times a day, those things look horrible after just a second day. I mean, everything's old real quick when you can see everything on your blog at a glance. So think long and hard before you start trying to run a magazine theme or magazine style theme, free or not, if you're the only one running it, because those are geared toward multi-author blogs. All right. Well, I think this went pretty good, and hopefully people learned something. And I guess we're all done. Any last comments?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Well, we'll see y'all next week. We'll try this again next Sunday. 1 Standard Time.
And you can find this uploaded on Hot Blog Tips YouTube channel here in just a little bit.
Well,
You ain't paying him nothing. Well, Sheryl came back, kinda.
It says we're back on air as well.